What is up, guys? Welcome back to the No Cap Podcast. This is an episode I've been looking forward to for a very, very long time. From the day after we had this guest on last year because the sound quality was fucked up. And Adam's already running out the door. Um, but we had a lot of interesting things to say. I was really disappointed in it last year because I think my mic was screwed up and the sound quality was bad. But we have him back as a very special guest today. As the mad scientist, I think they call him, Cam, the man, Merriman. What is up?
Hey,
How is it going?
it's going very well, David. I'm glad to be here after much consternation of the anticipation of finally having this podcast. It looks like maybe Adam stepped out, so perhaps it's a more intimate environment of just you and I. But
Oh my.
yeah, plenty to talk about tonight, depending on how long we want to go and what we want to get into. But I'll let you take the lead. But yeah, anything is on the table. Feeling quite energized with thoughts on the sim and the series and whatever we want to chat about.
Oh my goodness. Has it sunken in yet? You've had over a week now. Are you just like, all right, yeah, that happened, or is it still like, are you still kind of like, not surprised, but I don't know,
Yeah,
taken.
yeah. No, that's I don't know. I don't know how to answer the question really because a lot of stuff happened over the summer with the old build.
Oh
If
my.
if nothing had changed like post DSCCS, I would have been disappointed with anything but first. I felt really strong at all the tracks.
Mm.
Felt like I had my own little niche in terms of how I designed the setups to find something late in the track states. And then we got the new build that I actually didn't drive it all on. I broke my knee and tore my quadricep tendon, and wasn't
Took an
in the
arrow to
sim.
the knee, as they would say in
I
2012.
did, yeah, a proverbial knee arrow to the knee, and that kept me out of this. I had my knee like my whole leg was in a brace, and I couldn't bend my knee, so I actually literally couldn't sit in my like cockpit structure. So I didn't drive in the sim at all during that build. And then we got the
Map a button.
yeah, I guess I wasn't that desperate to get in the sim either. Now that you put it that way,
True.
but then they literally on the like eve of the deadline to accept the pro nomination or acceptance, they introduced a fix to the new tire model build, and I asked Tyler Hudson to give me an extra day to test it out and see what I thought, and I jumped in, put in my
Oh, so
Williams
you
Grove
weren't even
setup.
gonna run.
I was debating not running yet because of what I had read about trunk in the wings at -10 with that original new tire model
Oh
build.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You remember
True.
this, right? People
Yeah.
were running on a 0% track with the wing at -10, and I was like, well, that just doesn't leave anything for the driver. So I was easily thinking about not joining. But they redid that stuff. Tyler gave me an extra day, and I drove around and put in a normal setup at the Grove, and it felt golden. And I mean, truly, they still do. If you drive a normal setup, the car feels a lot better than it used to.
Hmm.
Um, it's just that we didn't know that the Pandora's box was about to be opened. Do you know what I mean in terms of where the setups were going to go? I don't think
Yeah.
that I had any idea the day that I accepted that acceptance of what was actually going to come with the shit that we ran at Bristol and Eldora, and other tracks too. But all that said, yeah, um, post summer, I thought for sure I could not easily, but I thought it would be a bad season if I didn't win. And then throughout the season, to come away at the end after everything that happened with a victory, it's I don't know that it hasn't sunken in yet, but it just it feels odd. Maybe it hasn't sunken in. I never felt at any particular point in the season like I deserved it. So whereas, during DSCCS, I felt like all those victories, I deserved them. I guess that's probably an artifact of not actually grabbing a win until the very end. Just a very odd season, both in terms of how the sim played out with the tire model and the cars and how they handled, but also, just like how I drove and how it worked out. It's very slow at the end of races. Sometimes I'd drop one or two positions late in the state because I would try something with the setup that I thought would work and didn't, or stuff like the end of the season with Fairbury and Weed Sport, which just like is soul crushing and just makes you want to not ever sit in the cockpit again. You know.
Don't
So I-
don't at me, but it would have been cooler if you won the championship with no wins.
it would have been a neat like technical finish, but I wouldn't have felt very proud of it. You know. But
Right, but
okay.
there's something about winning a championship with no wins. That's I
You
don't know
think
why,
that's
that sounds cool
that's
to me.
clearly someone who's never won a championship. We want to wing it.
The constant shade at Adam. Adam's got the longest running winless streak, right? Is that the meme?
Oh, yeah, technically, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, how many inaugural wins do you guys have? Yeah, I'll wait.
I was gonna say, I did go back. I don't remember exact totals, but it's like from
Wait.
other years. What?
I was gonna say, has Howard Weaver won a second race? Because me and him might be
Ooh.
tied. I might not have.
Hey, there's been more sprint car races than there has been late model races.
Ah, he ran sprint car the first year, didn't he?
Yeah,
Or no.
he was leading the points at one point.
That's true. Oh my god, what a meme. Anyways, what were you gonna say?
I was thinking, I was like, your year was kind of like my 2019 year. Whatever one I ended up, no, yeah, 2019 year. Because then like three of the last four, the last race I crashed at Knoxville and lost second in points. But I think I had second, first. I was feeling momentum and everything. And that year I was the same way. I felt like I was actually, I was kind of going to be the car to beat there, you know?
Yeah.
I was winning one of those mid-cushion builds. So I felt real confident going in. And then after like the first 3 or 4 weeks, I was just like, ugh, well, you know, didn't exactly play out like we wanted it to. Rarely ever does for all of us.
Yeah.
I haven't felt like that ever, other than the first race at Eldora I won. When I was running down Tim Ryan, I'm like, oh yeah, I can win this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
a
think-
feeling,
I-
right? Yeah.
I think what really got to me too, honestly, I thought it was like, yeah, the whole Pro Series deal, right? I had no idea how big of a deal the Pro Series was until after the first race, because I had people blowing me up on Twitter, messaging me, all this stuff. I'm like, isn't this just like another official race? And so ever since then, I think I was like, wow, this is actually a big deal. And then like I didn't even know it was like live broadcasted. I didn't know I won
Oh,
money.
are you serious? Have you ever like watched
Yeah.
Peak?
No, never watched Peak. Never watched a single iRacing Pro race until after that. And so then after that, I was like, oh man, this is a really big deal. And I can't do it anymore. And can't drive like an idiot on these stupid tires.
Not to distract, but this is a good race, and shows a lot about. I don't know if this is probably Tyler's misgivings, but racing at Charlotte is very difficult, and you have to
Oh,
be
it's
super
Tyler's
aggressive.
misgivings, whatever fuck ups, whatever you want to call it.
Let's see. I don't recall exactly what
I
happened.
don't know
here,
what the
but
fuck. I was just I want to play this so we just get through it. We don't have to talk about it. But the fuck was Alex doing in the top of 3 and 4 there on that first lap? And then I watched his qual lap there, and it just he just seemed he fucked up his first
Tyler-
one and never swung it.
Ah,
Boom.
Alex got kind of lucky earlier in the race. He almost got cleaned out in 2 doing a crossover. Just Charlotte, obviously, I don't think that it actually had this type of wear pattern in last year's Pro Series, so we got some perhaps unique racing lines compared to previous years. But
reset.
yeah, but even still, like, you know, with the way people were driving with the crossweights, you couldn't. I feel like you couldn't afford to just run way up like that when the middle is so strong, like it was here. Like the middle would be stronger for a longer period of time in previous builds, but yeah, something funny. I should also say, and we should also acknowledge that outside of the build, they also did introduce more grip to the slick, right, which lived alongside the setup changes, but probably had an effect on how lines drove as well. I haven't thought about that a
I
lot.
feel like if they would have left the cars how they were and added the more grip through the slick, they probably would have been really good.
Yeah,
Free
well, I understand.
tire
I understand that it's almost like crossing the Rubicon. They've introduced the tire model now. We're never going back, so I don't even like to entertain conversations about it because it's just incredibly unrealistic. But I kind of understand where you're coming from, Adam. Like, look at, is that Blake's car? Who is that? I mean,
Evan, who's your heat?
Evans. They look so hilarious. I like
The
have
diff-
refused to drive like that.
Yeah, if we go back to the grid.
That used to just be the biggest problem on the old build, was the fact that the slick is just 10 times more slick than the little bit of moisture that still might be left in the track, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. I
I don't want
ran.
to piss our champion off, so let's stop.
You're fine. You're fine, Adam.
Cam's raising his voice.
Kick him out of the series.
I think I would hear Logan talking about it, but I mean, people were putting full-on reverse splits in the rear, like 1050 on the left, which is just crazy. I don't know that you'd be able to get the car to turn in real life. Obviously, you would find speed sometimes, like with a really stiff left side. It's just a curious consequence of the build, and it's funny. I don't remember who I was talking to, but the conversation came up like if Evan and Blake never found their way into this series, would this have ever been
Anybody have
discovered?
found that?
Yeah, I actually don't know the answer. I imagine maybe there's probably some people that would have figured it out because I remember when I
doubt it,
First-
honestly, because that's how they set up late models. So he
yeah
was
It's-
probably like, yeah, I'll take a shoot in the dark with like a 6.3 left rear and see what happens.
It's funny though because when I like a year and a half or so ago, maybe it was longer, I'm not sure, but I got in touch with Chris Brenner to like drive some laps with, and
Oh boy.
because he was very fast and he wanted me to like join his team or whatever, and so we drove around Volusia in preparation for a pro race there. I'm not sure if it was last season's or the year before's, but I would ask him like just trying to tease out like how does he build a setup, what's his approach, and I was very very let down or frustrated because he was like, I don't know shit about him, I just click the buttons until the splits improve, and I was like, oh Jesus Christ.
Relatable.
And then from that point, well, from that point forward, I was like, well, I guess there's no point in me joining the team because I'm not actually going to learn anything. So, but to that point, I'm sure there are people in the sim who are fast who do that same shit, who literally would just take like this track and drive around and just make changes until the splits got better, and maybe they would have like kind of like monkeys on a typewriter writing Shakespeare. They would have ended up coming around to the late model subs, perhaps not as early as Volusia Race 1 with Blake running it, but I imagine that it would have been found out, and it probably would have been more destructive because maybe Alex would have found it and would have been the only person on the track with it and blown us all out by like 15 seconds like he did at Volusia that one year.
Oh yeah.
But
Well, I'd rather have that than him blow everyone out on the same stuff.
yeah, I know.
I was just fastest in that race.
See, I learned a lot. That's an interesting example. I know we can't pull it up here, but that race at Volusia, when I got, I think, second and Blake Cannon was third, and we were all trolling around the middle, and we all had our wins like -10, and Alex was driving around with the wing at like -3.
Yeah.
See, I learned a lot from that because I developed a whole new setup approach, and then going then forward at DSCCS and all these league races, I learned how to like actually drive that line better. Maybe I wasn't as fast as Alex or whatever, but I certainly wasn't 10 seconds behind.
Yeah.
Whereas with this shit, I mean, with the current build, if you find yourself pigeonholed into driving these weird setups, I never feel like in a position to learn much with the setup. I'm just like, what do I need to do with the right rear shock? What do you're making 9 rebound? Why? Oh, you don't know? It just drives fast. You know what I mean? It's just like it's not very satisfying from a setup building perspective. I mean, it's fine. Like I know,
I see.
I'm sure Hayden's happy with it. Hayden is the type of driver. He's probably the utmost type of driver who just takes the setup and runs it and is really quick, right?
Plug and play.
Whereas
Yeah.
I try to invest a lot of time to understand all the
You
things
want to
I'm gonna do.
understand it and why. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, not one approach is better than the other because Hayden's a very gifted driver, but I don't find satisfaction from that. I would not like to come into like the sim on a Monday night and be like, hey, Adam, give me this setup. Oh, fuck, this thing runs like shit.
Funny you mentioned that because
Yeah,
I am
Kendall.
the opposite
Oh.
of both.
Tell me your opinion, Adam.
I was just gonna say I'm the opposite of both. Like I'm the worst end of both.
He just wants to
So,
fix
like,
setup.
No, I like Kendall has or not Kendall. Well, Kendall also, but Hayden has the raw speed to drive whatever he wants and be fast with it. You have the brains to be able to figure out how to be fast with something or make it fast. And I do a little bit of both, or a little bit. So like I just show up like Hayden does,
Yeah.
but I can't make it fast, and then I don't put in the time like you do
Yeah,
to make it
yeah.
fast, to make me fast. So I'm just like, I'm just here.
So that's
We're just
I mean,
here to
for a lot of
requalify.
reasons. That's why there's such a large incentive structure for teaming, right? It's because there's probably a lot of like-minded people like you, Adam, but you can't have the interest to make this setup better without the equivalent amount of time required, and a lot of people just don't want to put in the time, and I don't blame them. Like, it's annoying sitting there
Yeah,
turning them
and that's
up.
where I'm at.
Yeah, so I get it. So inevitably, a lot of people end up just. That's probably the fundamental reason why there's so many little cliques of teams of drivers who are like centered around one good builder, like
Beer line got
James
cleared,
builds good
Tyler
setups and
Albrecht.
whatnot.
And until they improve the tire model to a standard of my liking, I will not put more time on it than I have to.
Oh, okay, hot take.
Okay, I tell you what. Once they stop making a sprint car with giant wing panels and stagger, spin out to the right down a straightaway, then I'll start playing more. I'll practice for fun.
You mean like shove the nose right, like when you're in the throttle too heavy in the slick down straightaway?
Yeah, should not spin out to the right.
But it will if the right rear is in traction and the left rear isn't.
Not that aggressive as it does.
No, I'm with you. I agree. Yeah, it's a lot of it's very exaggerated and heavy.
I get it. So that's the thing. That was what I really liked when the game first came out.
Yeah.
The difference
Tyler
between
lost the
360s
SSR sponsorship.
Be quiet. Oh.
Go on in.
The difference in the 360s and the 410s when the game first came out, they actually had the noses of the 410s were lighter because 410s is a aluminum block, right? So you couldn't just hammer down on the gas because the front end would pick up and move over. So you couldn't just hammer down a 410 and just be fast with it. You actually had to put down as much throttle as you could when you're in the grip without lifting up the front end and doing a wheelie. There's none of that anymore. Now it's just
No, that's not. Yeah.
now it's just be on the verge of spinning out either to the left or right and have the gas down as hard as you can.
So like
keep your foot in it.
I'm convinced there's tire model but there's also like suspension model in sprint cars, which is why this whole does the right front bear weight properly? The answer to that is
Probably not.
pretty reliably no.
Well, like Juice says too, I mean, you almost have to run the 3.9 shock in the left rear to have some good drive, and that's also what the left rear shock just stands up down the straightaway and it just causes it to spin out.
Yeah, it's silly. It's silly how when you run a typical tie-down shock on the left rear, like you would run in real life, the car just sits still on corner exit, right?
Right.
Which is why you're forced into this 6.3 left rear. Put the torsion bar stop at +3 turns because you're just trying to load the left rear to prevent like this complete loss of forward drive, which you have in real life. But yeah, for some reason the cars just don't get up off the corner when you run these typical setups. And that thread is what leads you down that entire path to building like a big block. Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to say earlier, is that I'm just not a good enough driver to where I have raw speed like Hayden to be able to just get in the car and be fast. And then I'm also not really analytical enough to be able to figure out, okay, I need to change my driving style to drive to this car. Like I just I get in and drive it, and that's kind of how I've always been. Like no matter what sim I've raced, I have my speed pretty quick right off the bat, and I don't improve much. And I probably could if I tried, but it's just, for me, that's not what's fun. I want to get in, and I want it to be natural. I don't want to be trained talent. It's weird. I mean, that's my fault, and that's why I'm fine with running 12th.
I mean, you came in and put on
That's
some
why I predict
good
you
racing.
there.
Like every week, you were a great member of the Pro Series roster this year, Adam.
Hey,
so there's
you
no
know
fault
what?
in your style.
When you were about to lap me on the last 10 laps, I felt like I kept you at like 3 seconds for quite a while, just running the bottom with a broke car. All right, so
Good, yeah.
I had fun racing the leaders there the last of the end of the season.
Spotter was going, watch out, Ham's out there.
Yeah. I was doing my best not to pull a Fairbury re-impression.
All right,
but...
we have to stop on this. Not stop,
yeah, I'm
but
sorry.
we gotta
Bring
talk
us back on
about.
the
So,
David.
That's not fun.
it was funny. Someone had mentioned this after the race, because once this happened in real time, I didn't think of it at all. Until someone mentioned it, and then actually, in the post-race report or whatever, I forget their exact words, but they basically said Lamy gave
points
the position.
manipulation. Is
Yes, there you go. And so I watched we'll watch the cockpit. And just looking from the cockpit, even still, it's like, okay, you slow down, you think the race is over. One car goes by, all right. And we did steer out of it. I mean, say we can see cars coming in the mirror, we steer out of it. And it's like, well, okay. once that many cars come by, you want to gas up again, but it's very. I was surprised. I think Eiler, we don't have chat.
Actually.
Yeah. Eiler said something in chat too, which I remember was like, I don't remember.
Oh, we don't have
exactly what it
chat.
was. No, we don't have chat. I don't know why. It was something about being in Discord or something. And maybe that's what tipped. Yeah, maybe that's what tipped him off. I don't know. I just think it's funny that some people and teams in this game think they're not better than everybody else, but have higher morals than everybody else.
Yeah.
And then when push comes to shove, they're no different.
Looking at this shit, yeah, I actually couldn't believe it when I'm the same exact way, David. I didn't spare a second thought. I was like, wow, Greg just, fucking spaced out on that one. And then you watch it back, and he perfectly gives the spot back to Braden. Yeah, it's kind of wild.
And I think if you're gonna at least, because what they say, they're just gonna look into it or their possible eligibility, whatever. And Greg was 16th in points here, so he had a lot to lose. He would have started first 4 rows and could have made. I mean, Beerline made and Tyler made the show too, who he was fighting for position for. So I mean, he basically he gave up even a chance.
His transfer, yeah.
Yeah, by doing this. And I still don't even know why, because I mean, even if you're Eiler and you're in the front row of a B main, especially at a track like Charlotte, what are you worried about? But I mean, I don't know. I think if you're gonna say something, I mean, you can't really penalize Bragan at all, obviously. No. But like, if you're gonna say, hey, we're gonna look at your eligibility, well, I mean, then it's basically, if you think he did it, then you might as well not let him in the series again for at least a year.
They assessed him the penalty. That means either they made a determination from the footage that you just witnessed, or I would hope that they requested telemetry from Greg to show that he actually had inputs that demonstrated that he had intent to pick up the throttle as soon as he let Braden by. That would be demonstrable evidence, right? But we don't know that, nor will we ever. Like Tyler Hudson's not going to disclose that.
What's telemetry going to show you though, other than
like here he's just leaving off the gas and then.
Well, it's going to show, like, what's the type of... Okay, you could do this type of thing. What do cars do at the end of races? You can study...
I was going to say, let's go back to last week and see how Greg always ends his races.
It's actually not hard, right? It's actually
the variables are inconsistent enough.
It's probably true that Greg does something similar at the end of every heat race in this series. Are his inputs at the end of lap 9 consistent with that? Or are they meant in such a way that demonstrates that no, he's actually aware of what's going on? I don't think that it's as complicated as it sounds, Adam. I think it's something that you could probably tease out in such a way that you can be more confident than not whether he did it with intent or not. And I would hope that's the way that Tyler Hudson went about it, but of course we don't know if he actually requested telemetry.
So what this did, so Bragan ends up beating Hagan by 5 points and holding 4th.
Yeah, which is how much money? Like,
2
what
positions,
was that?
$500. Which
Check
is
the PayPal statements. How much did Eiler send to Lamy?
I know.
I was gonna say, I was like, if they really like,
How much?
I don't think anybody really cares. Besides, I don't even think Hagan cares at this point anymore. But honestly, like, I don't know, the right thing to do would probably just be split that 250 then with Hagan. If, just to make everything right. I'm not saying he should. I don't expect anyone to, but like, I don't know if I was in that situation and, I don't know.
I see your perspective now.
Yeah. It just makes it, I don't know, whatever. It was, yeah. I was surprised by that. I was surprised. Greg had a good year, and I really thought he was going to requalify, but... And then even the B main, I think he didn't do Greg either.
Yeah, Greg is typically very, very fast driver, but of course the Pro Series does Pro Series shit, and he came out mid-pack,
Now this B main was interesting because David Allen was starting on pole, and he had I guess he'd never made a feature yet, so this was his time. And I think him and Shoot get to racing. He's forced to lift a little bit. Yeah, I guess that was lap 1 right here.
Oh my goodness!
We'll
oh my goodness! Let's watch that from his cockpit.
Shoot did nothing wrong there. He's just filling up the gap here, and it just looks like David was a little stubborn.
David's doing the same thing that you see a lot of drivers, especially drivers
Yep.
with average ratings or that haven't been in pro before. But
Yep.
there's a perfect example, David, that I was trying to pull from my brain, and it's your brother. Michael is someone who demands the lane on the top, and
Oh,
it's like top or be damned, you know.
he's one of them
And
Ernie Williams.
and I learned so long ago that it is never worth it to depend on the guy to watch his mirror to give you a lane. Like I
No,
always cross
no,
under.
no. I
Always.
don't know the last time that wasn't like down the straightaway where I've like actually ran into someone who was slagging me.
Yeah, yeah. So
Don't DTA, boy. Don't trust anybody in this fucking game.
yeah,
And I know I'm probably don't help that I constantly like if it's just an official race or something and I'm racing a guy, I'll constantly always leave that door open. But then if there's a time in a league race or say in the Pro Series here, I'm not that forgiving and I'm gonna close that door and then they're caught off guard by it because they always I don't know, that's me. I always think maybe
yeah.
they think I'm always going to leave it open, so they take advantage of it.
I've
But
got an interesting example. Do you remember Apex before this race? I did the same thing to Mason, and Mason hung it all out to dry on the top, and I gave him the lane. And in so doing, the whole field crashed, including me, right? It like never, even if you make it through, it's probably not going to end well for somebody. So I just, every time somebody sends one,
How
especially
about-
at a track like
This
this,
is part of
I'll
the
always
race.
go.
How about iRacers quit racing and everybody just follow each other and there won't be any races? What do you guys think is better? Like to kind of go back what we talked about earlier. For somebody who wants to like improve more, like for the Pro Series, do you think you learn more from running officials all week or just running like one league race a week?
Obviously, there's a balance. I think that you should find, like in the 410s, it's a relatively like skimpy series. You find a high strength of field race where all the setup shop guys are trying to run on like Monday or Tuesday. I think if you go in there and give an honest effort in that session, it's like 7:30 or 9:30 p.m. or something EST. That's your like real test of the week. But obviously from there, yeah, a league race or more officials to work with different setup options. Like I don't think that you're doing yourself any benefit if you're on the same exact setup, run the same exact lines all week. Running a
No,
million
and
officials.
I mean, I could name a ton of
That's
people
what
on
I
this
do.
list who I would definitely say even if just one league race a week to learn so much more because I think there's exactly that, Cam. They run the same setup, could come into official for a week, they run to say 10 races throughout the week, same qualifying, same race, same whatever, not worrying about the track or whatever. And I mean, they can go out and win because I mean it's an official race.
The tracks they almost play out.
But
the
yeah, I
turn
mean
race.
they do that a lot, and and then yeah, you see, once they get into a series like this, or even if they do run a league race, how much they actually do struggle. I think
Yeah.
the best thing someone could do to just try to get for the Pro Series, if being officials, is just go start in the back, and then
I agree. Yeah, and you do that a lot actually.
yeah, I mean it's a little
by
more fun,
choice.
at times, but definitely just to be able to learn to be able to read other cars and know what the fuck's going to happen. So even if you are in a B main and shit happens, you know how to avoid it here and just stay clean and get through it.
I would love to do that, but safety rating is too precious to me.
That's why you get a second account, bud.
Again, actually,
I don't care about this game enough to race on one account. Why am I gonna pay for another one?
More true. David just made a comment. I'm not sure what it was in the sim, but presumably it was something regarding the accident. I don't know,
Nah,
but
he's mumbling.
but like that incident that he had with I forget if it was shoot or whatever. Poor Landon. The incident that he had where he what happened? I can't hear.
He went, oh! I think Tyler muted him.
Like that accident that David had where he tries to stay high and the car below clears up and takes the line away.
Yeah.
That's something that happens a lot in official races. And there's like, I'm sure when you're racing first, second, third in an official race, there's like a almost gentleman's agreement that like, oh, leave the lane. It's not that big of a deal. But
Yeah.
like there is no gentleman's agreement in this series. So
No.
like, you have to get rid of those whatever habits that you form in the official races and understand that you have to maximize your race and also drive incredibly defensive. Like that defensive driving is so important, especially in these
I agree. I
races.
think even in like league races, I think it's very gentleman agreement type on
Yep.
certain things.
Yep.
Which is weird because then it's like then you're not requiring, but you expect everybody to be on the same page, and obviously that's
Good
not
God.
always.
Worst thing you could do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was rough. Yeah.
But
Ernie Williams is a example of someone whose position in each race is probably far away from his pace. Like he can be really fast sometimes, but my God, it's so frustrating to watch him race sometimes because he lends so much trust, I think, to people around him, and then he puts himself in these positions to be just heartbreakingly let down when someone doesn't give him an inch, you know. And
I
and I can't help but feel bad for him sometimes because he gets like thrown out of the park like entirely. And I'm just like,
Bristol.
I'm like Ernie, you cannot put yourself in that position. How many times have you been beat up and like yelling at people in a league race, and then you come in the Pro Series race and like expect these people to give you an inch? It's crazy.
I think it was
He
yeah.
murders me in Apex.
Take your own car. Yeah, I'm probably yeah. Just take your own car.
We take this podcast very serious.
I think John Batista is another one out of the Black Diamond stable that once it gets a top going, he not necessarily expects you to leave a lane, but he's very well known to just drive over you on a straightaway because he didn't think you're gonna stick a right rear out to kill his momentum.
Hey, here's my hot take of the night. John Batista is
Related to Dave.
has shamed himself on the service and in a way like disgraced the series. He got pissed off last season that he performed poorly for whatever reason, whether it was his fault or not, and decided to stop showing up and would run like 360 races with DSRL the night of the pro races and like diminish the car count. Understanding that this
yeah.
pro series is not for you, the driver, it's for the series. So, but yeah, like that really pissed me off, and John could go suck a dick for that. But
Cam coming
Damn.
out, firing, wants all the smoke.
The champion attitude right
The
there.
champ has spoken. He's waving his dick around now. I like it.
This is Cam's service now, not Alex's.
All right. So how are we feel like honestly after qualifying? I mean, I was in Discord with you. I was like, well, especially just giving out the lineups, even before like because Alex had a tough heat.
Deep.
I was like, championship was over after qualifying for me. How were you feeling after the heat? I know you were just focused on the race, Cam. You wanted to get out front and do your thing.
Yeah,
but would you say how confident were you that you were going to be able to get it done?
Well, I knew that if I didn't receive a right rear under whatever circumstances, my fault or otherwise, from Blake, given that he would not be running the exact same line, that I would survive and it would be okay. Given that I had a 4-place buffer to Alex, it was really just can I avoid getting caught in some shit, and that also means, receiving a right rear from Blake if it's like just by the way that lanes like funnel into each other at this track, but also. If I'm put in a position to put a slide job, especially like in 3 and 4, how the right around like at the top right of your screen there where the color changes, it's really easy to like dump your right rear in that.
Yeah.
So if I could avoid like those two things, then I wasn't gonna have any problems. It was just trying to string the race together. Obviously, like the 2 weeks prior, Fairbury, I felt like a rocket. I came to the field. Kendall Tucker was unfortunately like collateral damage along the way, but I felt super fast there. Weedsport, I felt super fast. I had like a 3-second lead over Braden. So it wasn't like I was coming into Charlotte and I felt slow. I certainly felt like I was quick. It was just shitty circumstances, whether they were my fault or otherwise, had snatched 2 what felt like very probable wins away.
Yeah.
So I just knew that I needed to.
You
like,
came
get my
in
head
leading
straight
laps
for
where, like you
once.
said at the start of the season, you didn't feel like you had that pace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then you were the car to beat, when it counted in the last 3 races. Where Alex, look at Weed Sport, and then
Alex was interesting, right? I mentioned in the post-race interview for the Pro Series where Alex was really quick in the beginning. Like I remember Bristol, he came from behind and like half ran me over because he was so much faster than me. There were in the beginning of the season he was very, very fast. Whether he was quicker
Because
than
you
Hayden or
echoed
not, I'm
me.
not sure. Yeah,
You have echo damage.
I'm recalling it's such a long season, but and then Weedsport was almost like a watershed moment for Alex's season because I don't know if his raw pace fell off, but something he couldn't like string a full night together.
Hmm. And it was just things like I mentioned there that you saw the top of 3 and 4 in that heat race, and it's like he should have known not to do that. And then at Wheat Sport, he just kept running the top of 3 and 4 also, and it just wasn't the line. He wasn't making a pace. He never really tried to do a bottom. It just seemed like, I mean, his heat race at Wheat Sport was like the worst I've seen him drive. Because
Yeah. I mean,
it definitely seemed
Wheat
like
Sport's,
something was off. I'm sure he'll
Wheat Sport
say
is
it
tough
was
too, though.
something else, but
Like in the feature, I imagine put myself in those shoes. In the feature, Wheat Sport running 10th or whatever, the laps start ticking by. You can kind of get lost right on the track. If
mm,
you're sitting mid pack, you don't know exactly where the line is. I don't know if he has a spotter who's telling him where to run or not, but it's easy for like 10 or 15 laps to go by and you're just out to lunch because you don't know the line. But
yeah. And that's just such a
um,
rare thing for him.
it is, yeah, it
So
is.
it was very, I don't know.
Normally it's the other way around. I imagine it's the other way around. I'll be like, Dad, where the hell is Alex running? Like, what's going on? Um,
Yeah,
but
I always
yeah,
say like if in terms of any line on the game, like if Alex knows the line, he can run it as good as or faster than anybody, obviously. But the
yeah,
times when I felt like I was better or at least had a shot to beat him was always when there were multiple lines where you had to make choices, and he wouldn't just be able to get in a rhythm and go.
yeah. Hey,
Where you could
I'm
make them
also
think a little
curious.
bit. And Weed Sport was kind of like that. I mean, you kind of could run everywhere, but did they? I mean, yeah, just expected more.
I have a postscript on this thought, which is I'm curious how much the big block setup dynamic got into his head late in the season because they didn't work very well at tracks like Fairbury and
Yeah.
Weedsport, and I'm curious if he tried to stick with that philosophy because it had so much raw pace at tracks like Charlotte, but more so like Knoxville and Bristol, and whether that bit him because I remember I put in Tyler Ducharme gave me a setup for Charlotte here like an hour before we were set to qualify here for the Pro Series, and on a relatively fresh track, I could hardly get it around. Like I felt like I was wrestling the car. Where that might have been a faster setup. I was not going to put myself in a position to try and drive with it. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's just one of those things. I'm wondering how comfortable he was with the setups he was building.
Holy
Oh, so
shit.
we had an early caution here. I'm not sure for what, but it was getting really, really spicy up front. We
Yeah.
were almost going to be four wide there, I think, for the lead.
Is this the? This might have been the only caution.
Is this
Um.
Austin and Logan?
Yeah.
What
Oh,
happened?
is
What
that
why
Neko?
did they? I think that they gave that to Austin too. Isn't that weird?
Really?
Yep.
That is really weird. Yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah. I don't remember all the things, but I thought they did have a couple of questionable reviews again.
That one. That just
Which
sucks for
it
Austin.
to go back to me what me and Adam were talking about. It's like you should have to just protest. If you really think it's a
Yeah.
thing, and
It
that's what
should
they
It
should
pro-
look at.
it should not be
Otherwise,
handed out unless so like Austin should have protested Rumsey there if anything, and then they'd be like, no, that's
yeah.
not Rumsey's
Well,
fault.
Austin will
It's
watch that
yours.
and say that's like Netco, even though Logan looked like he got squirrely. But
Yeah, but he was coming. Logan was coming down the track, but Austin probably had time to lift or move. That's the line that I'm talking about. As long as I didn't dump the right rear, I knew that if we got into exchanging, I'd be okay. And then I think actually Blake just gave up
probably straight to Mugsy's.
on the slide job battle and just conceded the lane to me. And from then it was just
How do you
Charlotte.
how do you
What's
run the
that?
top here, dude? I cannot figure it out. Are you wide open just the whole time?
If you can be, but no. Especially actually if you go back to watching the track got really really slick on entry actually and would pitch the car.
Just look at the way like
Well,
Hold on, let's go see it. Well, you dumped the
on
right
the
rear there,
wall, and
buddy.
then we just.
look.
But let's watch a lap or two of Adam. Yeah, so Adam, I
Like you
noticed it
could.
there. Hold on, let's watch straight away here. Do you go back to the top? Let's see. Yeah, so
I think I was trying
I can just talk to you a little bit. From my perspective, we were before the podcast. David and I were talking about the Grove and some changes, and maybe we'll do this at the end where we talk about what should change. But one of them is straightaway slickness, and to run the top at a lot of tracks, and Charlotte in particular, if
He's
the
looks scared of
attitude
an
of the
entry.
car,
Sorry.
So you're okay. If the attitude of the car is upset at all past the halfway point down the straightaway, you're gonna have a really hard time running the top. And what I was just watching with you is you would do that thing that you complain about with the model of the car, where the nose like pitches to the right because you're in the gas too much, and the car is like getting unbalanced late in the straightaway, right? And once you've done that, it's hard to actually get the yaw of the car right to run the cushion. So you're like chasing the car around, trying to, you're trying to basically swing the rear end back out where it's actually interior now when you've upset the car like that. And that's just it's one of those things where you can like, when I'm helping my dad too, when he's in the sim driving, it's just like things as small as that, just keeping the attitude proper, like on entry. If you can't get that one thing right, it doesn't matter how much you try and work with the car, you'll never be able to run the top. But providing you can get all that right, I was in general like 80% to 100% throttle around
You're
the top.
You're probably harder on the gas through the corners than you are on the straightaway, right?
No, well, it's true at some tracks, but since they changed the slick here, Adam, and the way that 30-degree top wing angle works, at except for the front straightaway, that's true. I was off past the flag stand, but down the backstretch, I was 100% into 3. But wherever tracks build up this, like, you can almost see like a, whoa, Alex got kind of lucky there with Kendall's mistake. My goodness. Whenever a track builds up, yeah, I think he kind of did. You can see the like cushion almost extends down the straightaway. You see that the really brown like cushion material on the backstretch, like pinched up right against the wall. If you can put your right rear in it, you can actually keep your foot down all the way. It's what I try and do at the Grove and when I run the top. Instead of doing the serpentine pattern at the Grove, I just try and pinch the car completely to the top. And if you can do it, you don't have to pull your foot out.
Yeah, I do that, but then does that right there, like his car just did. But I can't.
Well, let's go back and see my attitude. David, did mine do it? Let's see.
No.
No. So it's just very important because it's all about where the right rear is.
A lot of it's the way you come off the corner also. I think you're still halfway down the straightaway, you're still kind of sliding towards the wall a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you're able to just keep it nice and
but you see, if you can keep the right rear in that, I've got the foot all the way in the throttle, and obviously it's really easy. 3 and 4 is tough, but
I feel like my problem is maybe I just drive off of the left rear too much, and I'm too focused on that. And I just need to focus more on my right rear. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's natural that with the current build, a lot of people are driving off the left rear. It's just a different way of thinking.
This is when I was destroyed. Yeah.
I never actually saw what happened, so I'm interested.
You know what lap it was?
Oh. Who was it? Braden? Shoot?
Yeah. I mean, I came off the wall a little bit, but...
Yeah, it was just a lot of motion there. Yeah.
Just met in the middle.
Met in the middle.
Yeah.
I did that with Steinke at
I think there was
last year.
No, I think there was an incident before that though, where he drove in the back of me. But I mean,
Was the car broke there or later?
I think it was broke before that incident.
Yeah.
Because I tapped the wall in the front straight away, and it kind of drove me down the track into 1, so I just kind of went with it. And he was about 20 miles an hour faster than me and just squared me up in the tail tank.
You should actually watch Alex in this portion of the race. I think he's quickest because he runs down.
Everyone just take an O.
Everyone just say no. Yeah, I know Alex closes this gap almost instantly to these guys in front.
And this is what, I don't know, maybe I expected more from the... Like, I fully expected him to just come out and qualify first. And then, whatever. But I expected him to just be, ripping as hard as possible the whole night. And it didn't seem like he'd do that. Same with last week at Wheat Sport.
Yeah. Yeah, he's quickest on track in this portion of the race. It's all right there too, like all 4. He doesn't mind. Like, I was not gonna risk upsetting that.
He's all the way up in it.
Yeah, all 4, with that wall.
Yeah, and I think he throws a slagger on Hagen and then hits the ball.
Yeah, at this point in the track, that the fact that they let it stay is interesting. I think that they did it because it's like one of the only races of the year they let stay, and Charlotte in real life also gets torched as hell, so maybe it was just like from that perspective. But man, yeah, the cushion here got actually way rockier than it ever did in Apex, and I actually think that the reason for that is just how the marbles work. In Apex, we would have cautions where everyone would drive up there under caution and beat down the marbles. And then
Mm.
in this race, we didn't have any. So everyone who was trundling through the middle was just like building up this giant mountain here. Another topic for discussion at the end of the race, by the way, should be marbles because they're a problem, I think.
Do you think they're a problem?
Yeah, they're right now they're a band-aid for an overarching problem, which is raceability.
Oh,
Marbles provide good raceability,
I was gonna
but
say,
from a
yeah.
realism perspective, they're bad.
Gotcha.
But here comes the slide job battle. You're gonna miss it. I think he sends one or two. And now it's very difficult, right? I think that he maybe goes too low here because he ends up probably having a lift for Blake.
Yeah.
If he sends
I think
it a
he
bit
was almost
shallower,
thinking
he
about
gets-
getting them both.
You're probably right. If he had not sent it as deep, he probably could have just slotted in. Oh yeah, here. Oh, there's the wall. Hey, I mean that's interesting that the comments I made at the very beginning there, I actually didn't think about that. What Alex happened to Alex? Yeah, that type of thing can bite you even worse than that, right? Where you tap the right front then into the front stretch wall and you're turned like sideways down the straightaway.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the top of 3 and 4 started getting really quick at the end of the race, and I wasn't running all the way up there, so I started getting run down by Hayden and Blake. But at that point, I was.
Oh, is Shell gonna let Eiler by too? Watch this. I'm surprised more people weren't trying these crumbs, especially in 3 and 4. Like, just kind of try to. They probably would get
Yeah.
too tight, but just drive
Yeah,
through
it
them
would-
like that.
Yeah, I have to imagine it would get too tight right at apex, right, and also maybe loose as soon as, like for some reason, as soon as you escape the marbles, the balance of the car completely upsets.
Mm.
Remember Knoxville? Remember we had the really strange track wear and warm up.
Yeah.
At the
well,
bottom, there was like marbles down there, and you would run down there, and the car would get super tight, and then as soon as the car left the marbles, you'd pick back up a loose attitude. So you like couldn't run down there because it was too unpredictable. But yeah, I think everyone ran me down here at the end, but I was just trying to manage the gap and not have a repeat of Fairbury.
Yeah.
In Weed Sport.
And for me,
I
this would
actually-
have been because it was the same way. Alex, in the Charlotte race, I won. I had a big gap, and then he caught up like maybe 2 seconds in the last
Holy cow.
like 10 laps. Because I don't know, it's just such an advantage being able to drive behind a guy. Once I'm out in front,
Oh yeah, it's huge.
I feel fucking my mind fucking wonders, and what am I gonna say in an interview or some dumb shit like that.
Well, also,
goodness.
I mean, to some degree, you're also kind of paralyzed in your line. I mean, not entirely right, but much more than if you're in second place.
Yeah.
You're not at all in a position to wander. Charlotte is obviously an exception because there's not a lot of lines, but especially someplace like Weed Sport, you know,
Look
like
at that guy running with the top 5.
look, last lap. I wonder if I even should have covered here because I almost got myself bit by Hayden, but I can't believe Hayden was able to stick that past the
Yeah.
line. I don't know how he didn't
Spoiler.
like, just completely stop all 4.
So he ran a bad 1 and 2, but then Blake ended up
In the
fencing
wall
it
anyway.
and running him down. Yeah.
But I can't believe that Blake wasn't able to get this one back. Because, like, that attitude of the car, he's got to be completely stopped off here, all 4. They actually
And just
caught the cushion
and-
really well.
Yeah, he actually
and
just
drove it
was
straight
able to
down.
Come down a little bit.
Wow, yeah. I mean, that was good technique.
Championship, baby.
Cam, the main question I have for you:
Let's go,
Mhm.
Cam.
did Bergeron ever congratulate you?
Probably be running with you.
No,
tomorrow again.
but I
Good
didn't
job.
reach out to Alex in previous years either, so I
Good job.
don't take particular exception to it.
Mm.
Good
Okay.
job, Cam.
That makes
yeah,
sense.
but
I was gonna say.
Good run, Cam.
You didn't disrupt his
Good
in
job,
previous
Cameron.
years
Very
though,
well.
you know, so it's a little
I
different.
know what you mean. I still, I'm not going to be sitting here and be upset about it, but no,
And it's not
very
like
close
you
to it.
guys had a rivalry or anything like that. You weren't wrecking
But
each
not
other,
that,
you know what I mean? It was
Oh, amazing.
you just bested him, so I'm just
That run,
surprised. I
okay.
don't know.
Yeah, I think that obviously the season was odd in more ways than one, and one of those ways was Alex's two-time connection issue at Fairbury and Eldora, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
That was Zyrace
No.
and doing it to him.
Even I mean, even Lewis Hamilton congratulated Max. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, well, that was a much different circumstance where the
Even
FIA
worse,
was
I
to
would
blame.
say. An even
What?
worse circumstance.
You know what I mean, though? It wasn't between the drivers. It was between, yeah, it was with the FIA. Whereas here, yeah, it's
Still,
really Alex's internet service provider who's at fault, right?
but I mean, really, I mean, Max and Lewis wrecked each other several times, racing hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lewis just about killed
Oh, yeah,
Max.
yeah.
Max almost killed Lewis. Drove on
There was
over.
I see what you mean. There
Yeah,
was an intense
it's just,
vitriol between
you
them.
know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I just feel like you would expect more out of somebody who's done so well on the service to be like, hey, you know what? I got beat. Good job. But
Yeah, I don't have any particular antagonism. I don't think there ever has existed much antagonism between both Alex and I, but there certainly has existed antagonism between
and
Alex's lackeys and I, people
and
who ride on his coattails and love to talk
right.
shit at me. Yeah.
And it's not even so much that it's because you won. I just think if anybody won, he would act the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
It's
hard to say,
just
but
I
but
agree.
mm,
I agree. I think he has reason to be upset, because his drops or whatever. But like, I mean, that's happened to him other seasons. It's like at some point you gotta figure out, what the hell's happening to your stuff.
yeah.
It's
You
the
know,
equivalent to a
but
mechanical failure in real racing. But
if Brad Sweet loses the championship because he had a couple engine failures, then
yeah,
he's not gonna
that's
not
racing.
congratulate
Yeah,
somebody.
well,
Yeah.
that's racing.
That's
Yeah.
part of
I
our performance.
That's an interesting point, Adam. But I will also mark
I'll say
that.
it for him. Congratulations, Cam, from Alex Bergeron.
Well, thank you, Adam. But listen, I would have felt for Alex a lot, like a lot of empathy if I had won Fairbury and then went on to win the championship. But when I crashed out of Fairbury for my own stupid reasons, I felt if there was any silver lining to that horrible night for me,
yeah.
it was
Yeah,
that there was
nobody
almost,
at Charlotte's pointing at Fairbury now and saying, "Well, this is
yeah,
why Alex lost the
yeah.
championship
That's kind of
because
what it
he
did.
ended
There was
up
almost
gaining points on you."
there
I
was
We
like
think
a
that
we
karmic
even said that
rebalancing.
though coming into the
Yeah,
last night. Yeah, into the final night, we're like, well, at least if Cam wins it, it's gonna be on
yeah,
level racing terms because I mean, yeah, yours was self-inflicted where Alex's wasn't, but regardless, things happen. It's racing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah. It was like a strange cosmic rebalancing to like reset the scales going into the last couple races, right? Um,
No,
yeah.
iRacing
So
controls it all, and that's what they chose to do.
they already
I
know the outcome.
Yeah, they had it all picked.
They knew I was gonna run 19th at Charlotte.
there should be a special mention here for the accusations of fixing races that I heard about that I would love to hear more about, but maybe outside the podcast from
That's what we
Apex.
were quoting just now.
I don't know all the details, but I'm fascinated by the
I
premise of
told
that
Adam
story.
this, but I get one like when everyone was congratulating you, I was like, I was so happy for you. I kind of got emotional just hearing everybody because it's so cool, just seeing. I think back to when I won the USAC championship and whatever. And it's just you're gonna get flooded with all those messages and everything. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I
such a
mean,
cool feeling.
it
I
was
was so happy for
a
you.
great outpouring of support, and David, I think I said that night, but I had for the listeners of the podcast, I had David on Discord with me that evening, in addition to my father,
Hey,
because
you.
although my father does a great job of of responding to my specific requests, I'll say like, Dad, come on, give me the gap behind. Just tell me the gap behind every lap. That way I'll know. Um, he didn't ever, because he's been out of the sim so long. He never had a presence of mind to help on. Hey, you probably should send a slider now. Oh, this
Mhm.
guy's actually coming from
Mhm.
behind, or
All the other
uh,
stuff that.
all the other peripherals that just help.
Yeah.
Like not to drive the race for you, but David would come in and be like, "Hey, what line do you think you're going to run?" And just like being able to work through that process of forcibly talking it through was really useful and helpful. And obviously, David, You brought the calm demeanor that we needed. You know.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was also nice for me personally, a relief after trying to win the championship with Hagen last year, and then this year was a little different because we're having
this
week
year,
one.
and then you jump shipped on him.
Yeah, then Hagen goes go cost another driver the championship. So I felt like I kind of got over the hill too of getting one over Alex, which was for me personally it was nice.
Yeah, and the outpouring of support that I received from most of the drivers was very meaningful. And yeah, I agree. I mean, I was in that interview with Chase and was receiving all the messages, and I got a little choked up too. I I'm one of the I don't know. I react perhaps differently than other people. I win and I feel like a sense of relief and more of a solemn attitude. And then like on a night like Fairbury, I feel like I'm gonna have a brain aneurysm. So it's like the hard nights are incredibly hard, whereas the good nights aren't. They don't. I don't like match the other side. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like how well I feel when I do well versus how poor I feel when I do poorly. So um, I definitely very much appreciated everyone's kind words. It was really cool. It's a cool space to be in. With the Pro Series. It beats you down, but it's cool to go through at least once.
Longest 10 weeks of my life.
I know I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah.
Can't wait for the next 10. That's how it is. I guess we'll just real quick.
I think for only finishing like maybe 5, maybe 6 at most races this year, 12th in points still isn't terrible.
You did well.
Who predicted you there?
Hold on, before we hit predictions, David, I wanna ask you a question. That it's a group polling type of thing. Tell me like the most iconic moments of the season.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an open question. I haven't thought much about it, but
I recorded every race from like my view in the Discord and TeamSpeak and everything, and I wanted to make a whole compilation of like funny and then like us reacting to the iconic moments, and that's never gonna fucking happen.
Well, if you want a first suggestion, I thought James Eden's pass on Hayden at Eldora was
big.
Was incredible for the series.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't promote it at all. We finally had like a photo finish, last lap pass in this series, and didn't get it.
They should have showed up in top 10, right? That they post on YouTube. I forgot.
Oh yeah.
That's only submitted for. That's only people that submitted, I think. But
sometimes they do.
Something that stood out to me this season is that like James is also in contention for a championship every single year, but like you got like Logan, or not Logan. I don't know why I said Logan, but like Alex, he had several connection issues also, and I think he dropped once or twice and then had to run on his monitor at Knoxville.
James surprised me with how fast he was. Yeah, with all of the turmoil and the vortex of setup changes and all this and that, and what seemed to be not an incredible amount of time that he spent in the sim, I was impressed that he was able to maintain pace and be a real championship contender up through the last race. So.
Right.
I mean, awesome season from James. Braden Eiler surprised me. His
he came on strong the last like 6-7 races.
His run at the Grove.
That he was too high up.
It's been a long time, honestly, and I don't know if I addressed it in the following weeks building the setup there afterwards, but it's been a long time since I've been blown out by somebody and not knowing what I needed to do. I've been beat by people and like, oh shit, I ran the wrong line. I shouldn't have done. I went too high in stagger. When Braden like blew my doors off after like almost wrecking himself like 2 or 3 times at Williams Grove, I was like, I have no idea how this kid is.
You're just flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he almost followed it up at Knoxville.
It's
and the same thing, but
yeah, and he didn't take the opportunity for the slide job there on the last lap. You remember?
It's funny because I feel the same way about myself, except I'm flabbergasted how slow I am nowadays. You know what I mean? It's like it's just impressive, honestly.
Wow, look how bad I was that race.
Wow, what the fuck was I doing?
No, and I think
like Ju says, and I do it in real racing. I did it in quarter midgets. My dad would tell me, I'd be leading a quarter midget race, and then about halfway through, I'd just
brag.
Fall off half a second lap and just But I still do it to this day. I go in La La Land, and it's all right. It's just we're out there for fun.
I think if you really look at all of Hagen's results, he finished top 2, I think 7 times, and then crashed at Fairbury, didn't make Volusia, and then Williams Grove was involved in that first lap incident.
Hayden
Yeah.
took damage from the first lap. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think one of the, and he was just showing up on Monday nights, wasn't like
Yeah.
putting in
Yep.
time like last year. I think it was, like a
It would have been a
a
different
Hagen
story
that
if
didn't
Volusia
care. You
played
saw
out
how
differently.
fast, he can actually be.
Yeah.
Because in terms of raw speed, he arguably was the fastest throughout the whole series.
I'm
Looking at
looking
it now.
forward. I definitely agree, and I'm reflecting on this, and my initial response is I look forward to changes to the build because
Fucking tractor broke down Evolution.
nice little yeah cameo there by the tractor. In the past, like in league races and previous builds, I felt like I was always in a position to make a strong run at the end of a race. Whereas this season, I always felt like I fell off when the track got worse. So yeah, I'm looking forward to changes with the build. It was always that Eldora I fell off strong in the race, and that's because I tried to run like 9 stagger, um, didn't run a giant left rear, just did some other things that I thought would work better and give me an opportunity to maybe run the bottom if it ever came in, and I got my doors blown off at the end, and that just like would never happen. Um, 2 builds ago. You could be off on the setup, but if you knew the line, somebody might pull a half tenth or a tenth on you a lap, but it wasn't like with the current build, if you're on the wrong setup, it's like 3/10 or more a lap.
Mm.
So there's a strange like the parity has been broken. Like one thing has risen to the top, except for tracks like this is why I know that you said earlier in a podcast earlier this year and probably last year too, David, and I agree with you. Weedsport is one of the best tracks on the circuit,
Gang,
and
gang.
and it is exemplified by the fact that you can drive almost any type of setup you want there and be fast. I drove the race setup that I drove there this year in the feature race when I had a 3-second lead. I had 14 stagger in the car. Um, you can't run that at Knoxville or Williams Grove like you used to.
Mhm.
And I think that I just look forward a lot to changes to the build so that we can have some more diversity in setup approaches.
Yeah, I think that was definitely one of, like you said, the highlights of the season. I think it was week 1. It was okay. What are Evan and Blake and Jaeger doing with their
Yeah.
cars? That kind of threw people off, and then it was just, Evan coming through a bottom with the low tire pressures at Kokomo,
At Kokomo, yeah.
and
yeah.
then after that, yeah, probably the finish at Eldora, and then Alex dropping at Eldora the first time kind of brought everybody back to him.
Yeah. Reinvigorated the
Um,
points race.
Yep. And then,
I mean,
highlighted his
wait,
win.
wait! I can't believe we forgot it. Watershed
Bristol.
moment for this driver, Bristol. Tim
Smith.
moment. He must have mentally collapsed because he had so much speed early in the season, and especially at Bristol, right, leading the race, running that crazy line on the bottom
Yeah.
with low stagger, pushing it out of his mind, understeer at like 35 or 40 degrees, right? Just killing it. And then I thought he clipped the cone and got a black flag, which
Yeah,
I
I
think
saw him
may
hit
have
that.
actually-
I remember watching real
I-
time thinking, I was like, oh, I wonder if he got black.
So he did run out of fuel, but I think he might have also hit the cone and received a black flag. I
He
think
was
that
just
both
fucking
happened.
YOLO from lap 30 on.
But that was a crazy moment of the series too. Ultimately, it didn't pay out well for me because then Evan and Alex got into it. I really
Yeah.
thought there was going to be more drama with that crew because they seem to have so much bad blood at the beginning of the season between like Alex and Blake and all that stuff going on, and
Just late
the way
model
that their
shit
interviews would
carrying
play
over.
out. Yeah, it was vitriolic and kind of nasty. But I'm surprised it didn't play out worse than it did.
I mean, that's what I always say. It's part of, as Colton Davis would say, that's part of, not driver etiquette. What am I thinking of? Just not being, just kind of being on everybody's good side. So, so you didn't, there isn't,
Bad
more
blood.
than 1 or 2 people that have one out for you. I think that's that's all part of the game too.
I agree.
And yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking at these predictions. I don't think anything too crazy stood out.
Except for Tim Smith. Yeah, sad. Tim, I didn't know. I just learned recently that Tim Smith was the former Amy Smith. I remember talking to my dad, like, who the hell is
Oh,
Amy
really?
Smith? Why is she so fast? Who is she? Like, she never talks. I never hear her voice. And then come to find out it's Tim. That's funny. Tim is a fascinating fellow, and I before the Pro Series in the old build, I remember he was super quick at the Grove when I felt like I had one of the most dominant setups there. So I remember asking him like if he was going to try for Pro, and he said, "Yeah." So going to the Pro Series, I would have also placed Tim way high up here because he was really really good in qualifying in official races. In the old build though, so everything changed kind of.
Well, Cam, I kind of wrong. I hate to cut it short. Congratulations, welcome to the club. It's something no one can take away from me. It doesn't matter how shit I get at this game. I can still say, hey, man, I was world champ. At least at one point. All the money and all the other stuff that comes with it. I hope you go down to Charlotte so you can do all that stuff.
Driving experience that David got,
Yeah, I mean, if they have the banquet this year, I'll be down there.
Hell yeah.
And indeed, like you become monolithic. So I hope the same happens because I know that obviously you can just tell David whenever David shows up in an official race, there's a mystique, there's an aura. The drivers are like, David's here. It's time to get it on. Something's different. It adds a new spice, and a lot of that has to do with indeed the mythos that's behind your name, and obviously a large part of that is the championship. So I can only hope that the same type of storyline.
Dude, I'm so glad you said that because even in my prime, I was like, I can't wait till I'm that washed up old guy that just shows up to random races and people are like, oh. So the fact that you fucking said that just made me all giggy.
Of course, David. But yeah,
I'm the Godfather.
We've been chatting for a long time. You kind of are.
Dog.
David could have been probably continued his greatness, but as soon as you won the championship, he's like, "Yep, that's that's all I needed." Because now people are gonna see when I go into an official, like, "Oh, there's David."
Well, consider me the Al Pacino to your Marlon Brando.
Dude, only thing I look forward to this game now is defending the title. So you'll
You are
a year from now, you'll be the same way. You'll want to defend it, and I wish you well with that because that'll be, you'll be just as amped for that as you were winning this.
Let us ask this question: are you gonna pull a Nico Rosberg?
Oh.
Depending on what they do with the sim, I may. If we have the same exact problem with the late model setups next year, I can imagine that the people that run them will have fine-tuned them to the nth degree, and I would not mind at all the mental relief and
that'd be badass. Go full-time podcaster. Woo!
I'll do what you do. You and I will just sit and do live podcasts for every race.
Wow.
There we
well,
go.
I guess I'm just gonna head out of here. So.
Yeah.
Nico is a really cool figure, and I respect a lot of what he did. Obviously, the iRacing Pro Series is a far cry from the demands of a Formula One, but what he did in walking away, he said he did it for his family, but he sure hangs around the track a lot. But okay, I won't labor on that point. Yeah, Nico's a great figure in racing, and I love listening to what he has to say and his inputs. So if I can be at all akin to him, that's a big plus up in my book.
This is really just all leading up to we're gonna go in F1 race this season, boys.
When I first joined iRacing, I wanted to try my hand at road racing pro stuff too, but Adam, you drive the Formula One car, and I really love the Formula Renault 3.5. So maybe we'll find an open wheel road future for us both.
Eventually. David and you don't get rid of me in a freaking ditch somewhere or something.
Show up on time. Oh.
It's getting dramatic. Anyway, I appreciate it, David, for you having me on and for our getting together to record this.
Absolutely.
The No Cap podcast is immutable and time immemorial. We exist forever as long as the YouTube servers don't go down.
Yes. All right. With that, Adam, you any last words for Adam?
Congrats, Cam.
Literal last words on this podcast. Open
Congrats,
position
Cam.
as soon as this episode ends.
I'm glad that I talked to David to bringing you in onto my podcast. You know, so it's been fun. Congratulations, and hope we see you next year.
Thank you, and I'll say if anyone has dared make it this far in the podcast, I appreciate you a lot. So thank you.
I appreciate all my subscribers and all my fans in this little cult of mine that I keep going somehow. But not sure what's planned next. But hey, if there's a Pro Series, even another late model, we will be back. I hope. Otherwise, till then.
Let us know if you guys want to see Rocket League content.
Just warning to headphone users. All right. With that, peace the fuck out.